fallout from Lord Dyson's report into the methods used by Martin Bashir to secure that interview with Princess Diana back in 1995. Mr. Bashir has left the BBC, but is that enough of a sanction? Dai Davies doesn't think so. He's a former chief superintendent in the Met Police, and he was the head of security for the royal family. Well, he spoke to us earlier this week.
When you are the BBC, when you have a global reputation for integrity, honesty and good reporting, I would want it cleared up. I know no other organisation that could call in an eminent judge, and nobody doubts his eminence or his ability to do an internal inquiry when you have allegations going on of criminal behaviour by Mr. Bashir and possibly others in the BBC. MPs have asked for it. The Justice Minister has suggested it. So what's holding everybody back? Perhaps there's more to this than we know. They had said they had looked into this, they'd taken legal advice, and it wasn't appropriate. Well, I simply don't understand that. And what I always say, unless you investigate, unless you take statements from credible witnesses like Earl Spencer, like Mr. Wiesman, who produced the documents, the bank documents, and many others, unless you actually get statements from them, you won't find evidence. And the CPS or any other lawyer can only advise on the evidence as presented. Now, to the best of my knowledge, and I may be corrected, the Met Police have not taken statements. Lord Spencer himself wrote back in January. No one done so far. The Met are actually articulating, yes, we will look at it again. What is holding them back? If it was the News of the World or the Daily Mail, trust me, they would have had dawn raids, as they did, going back a few years ago, with various inquiries into the press and what have you. I just don't understand it. In terms of the Director General's view that certain clips can still be shown, that gives me concern, because in truth, he is aiding and abetting now a feature that was obtained by deception. If you take the platform of either the Fraud Act of 2006 or the Theft Act of 68, pecuniary advantage, now you've had the Proceeds of Crimes Act for many, many years, 20 years or more, you should then consider going after a criminal. But of course, in fairness, you've got to find him guilty in a court of law. And as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't been. I don't want to try him by media. I really want him to be investigated properly by a proper authority. And I come back to the judge's inquiry. He's a civilian, much eminent as though he is. He's a civilian. And those giving evidence of him, those who agreed to give evidence, and there was no compulsory aspect to it, none of them were interviewed under caution. Mr. Davie has got a job and a half, but I think he would be well advised to just start again and get the Met Police in here and insist on it, and to provide proper evidence, and then for the police to get off their backsides and go and take proper evidence and investigate. As with Prince Andrew, I've lambasted them because they don't seem to take evidence from key witnesses, and I make the same allegation now.
Well, the BBC board have accepted Lord Dyson's findings in full and offered an apology to all of those affected by the failings identified. In a statement, they added that the board has confidence that the processes and guidelines in today's BBC are much stronger than they were in 1995. But they said they know we must also do what we can to prevent such an incident happening again. Well, a few weeks ago, Scotland Yard ruled out a criminal investigation, but let's see what our panel have to say about it. Richard, do you agree with Dai, and how much do you think William and Harry's emotions will impact this?
Certainly we saw a very powerful speech from Prince William about the BBC, a very statesmanlike but clearly angry speech, and we also saw a strongly worded statement from Harry. I don't know if they would support prosecutions. They didn't go that far, but certainly I agree with Dai. We had the man who's now the leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, leading what was pretty much a witch hunt against journalists a few years ago, and people were being arrested in dorm raids for paying sources, paying officials, this type of thing. And it does seem a real contradiction that there hasn't been any police action in this case, where there's no question about that forged documents were used in order to secure an interview. So it really does seem an interesting contrast, I'd say.
there is a whiff of the establishment, is there not? I think one of the key aspects was the absolute failure of the BBC's own internal inquiry, and it's not the first BBC internal inquiry that's failed to dish the dirt, for want of an expression, on themselves. I think more broadly, there is a big issue where the key protagonist is no longer with us. Diana is dead, which would make legal proceedings going forward very difficult. I think there's also another broader issue too, in fact. One is the two sons' statements were very, very different. William was clear. He never wants that documentary aired again, which is arguably, given we don't know the extent to which Diana and her interview was impacted by the forged evidence, is a really tricky one for freedom of speech. That's Diana's voice. And in Harry's statement, no mention of not wanting this documentary aired again. He didn't offer an opinion on that. Instead, he said he wanted his mother's legacy and her voice to continue being heard. So, ne'er the twain will meet. William wants to make this better and make it go away, because remember, effectively, Diana criticised the family he loves and belongs to. Harry, on the outside, that's not in his interests. You know, actually, the Diana he's holding on to is the Diana that criticised the establishment, that criticised the institution of monarchy.
And I thought the difference we saw in those statements last Friday was very interesting and bodes a bit ill, actually, for the unveiling of the Diana statue next month.
Don't look so pleased about that. You look too pleased about the idea of that not coming together.
I suspect the speeches they make on that occasion will be very different views of their mother as well.
Do you have a sibling, Richard?
Yeah, I've got two sisters.
Two sisters. Now, I'm just hedging a bet here that you have very different ideas of your parents, you three siblings. If you all had to give a speech at your parents' wake, they would be different. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we'll find out.
No comment from Richard there.
But my point is, William and Harry are normal siblings. Which siblings are fully functional? My brother and I are, well, our relationship's sometimes chilly. Thank goodness I don't have mass media hunting me down, wanting to film the unveiling of my father's statue. There isn't one, by the way.
And of course, a huge, everyone wants justice, but do you think there will be some among the royal family who are also sort of maybe quietly hoping this might just sort of go away?
Some? I think most of them. And actually what's interesting is, we sit here every week. What is the point of the royal family in a democratic era? It's about boosting Britain's image to an extent, as is the BBC. It's again one of Britain's most famous brands. And what we've seen recently is our royal brand taking a tumble, and the BBC, our biggest media organisation, taking a battering. It's not looking great for Brexit Britain right now.
It will be interesting to see if there's any sort of measures taken by the royal family against the BBC. Because after the original Diana interview, the royal family was furious, and the Queen stopped giving her Christmas broadcast automatically to the BBC. After that, it was shared among the different broadcasters.
Do you think she might be giving it to Mail Plus in the future?
So
let's keep our fingers crossed.
We'll see what changes there are.
Well, watch this space on that one. Well, that's all we have for you on our YouTube show, but never fear, you can watch the rest of the episode by heading to www.mailplus.co.uk/royals, where you'll find even more royal news and gossip. Click the link on screen now and see you there.